talk about the press business first. Every newspaper, every news media outlet has a set of roles. They have a set of departments. For example, if you were to go to the Star website under Contact Us page and you look carefully, you would actually see names like this: management, chief content officer, executive content officer, executive content officer. Okay, one, two, deputy executive editor. Okay, you will see things like producer. Then you go to the different departments. You have news desk, you have Star Educate, you have Star Sports, you have Star Biz, you've got Star Metro, you've got Feature Central, and then you have Star Online, the subs. These are various departments, and these are the general contact groups. Now take note that when you look at general content groups, you have the Star Northern Hub here. You also have the Sabah Sarawak Hub. You have some overseas bureaus. So when we talk about departments, every news agency and news department has a structure somewhat like this. Okay? So the press business is very straightforward. Each department takes care of a variety of tasks. So when we talk about the editorial, it is things like the news desk. It is your chief editor, it's your executive editor, okay, it's your news desk, your sports desk, your business desk, your features, your metro, your lifestyle. Okay, then you have the advertising department, and they are the ones who look into classified ads, into full page ads, into advertorials, into sales of space on the digital version of the newspaper, those sorts of things. Circulation department is the department that is responsible for the subscriptions of the newspaper and the sale of the physical copy of the newspaper to newsstands, to maybe companies. Let's say I'm Inti College. I would like to order 50 to 100 copies of the Star. So they would, the circulation department will be responsible for things like this. Then finally, you've got the printing, the administration, and the IT department. Now, these three departments are responsible for the logistics. So the printing department obviously has to be responsible for the production of the physical newspaper. So they would need to order the large reels of paper and things like that. Then the administrative department handles payroll, recruitment, okay, promotions, appraisals, maybe issues, payroll, benefits and compensation. Okay, so this is the admin department's prerogative, task of duties, and scope of work. The IT department is responsible for both the software portion, the hardware portion, as well as the security portion of the entire newspaper, both physical as well as digitally. Traditionally, a newspaper structure looks like this. You have the publisher here, then you have the business manager, the editorial writers, the editor, and the production manager. These four people are in turn are responsible for some what we call subdivisions: advertising, circulation, promotion, those sorts of things. Okay, very, very hierarchical in nature, and it's somewhat a bit defined, or would you say silo? Silo here means that if I'm working just on the print version, I just handle everything related to the print. If I'm an online reporter, I just handle news for the online platform. I don't go and tell the print people what my story is, how to go and put my story on the newspaper, what photos to use, those sorts of things. Okay, they run the show for their own little thing. But when we talk about the internet and how it's disrupting news, we need to factor in the fact that a news organization today is what we call combined newsroom. So for those of you who went to Media Prima and spoke to Ui, he would have told you that today reporters are known as mobile journalists because they go out and capture the news using their phone. They take a photo using their phone. They probably prepare snippets of the story using their phone. They send it to the editor over the phone, and pretty much everything is done on the go. Hence the term mobile journalist. It refers to both the technology as well as the nature of the work, which has changed. In the past, a typical reporter would have had to go and cover a news story with a photographer or a videographer, come back with a notebook full of notes, type it out, clear it with the editor, maybe make some changes, then it goes to layout for layout purposes, then it goes to printing. So the structure and the nature of the work is somewhat long and pretty much old school, if you can put it that way. But now we find that the trend today, especially in smaller papers or smaller news agencies, is to have what is known as a combined newsroom, meaning your reporters are doing dual um, functions. The news and the content that they are working on is for both online and offline, print and digital. Okay? So in a combined newsroom, there are four key defined roles. You would have a news flow editor, and that person would be in charge of making sure that the story progresses well for both print and online. Everything is in place, there's nothing missing. If it's a little bit long, maybe it needs to be trimmed. And if it's trimmed for online, how do I make sure that the print version is not too separate or different? Then I have what is known as a story builder, and this is somebody who combines print, audio, and video elements of the story for the digital platform. For the print platform, that person will be responsible for ensuring the right photos tell the story together with the text. The news resourcer is also another name for what we call today as the fact checker. It's somebody who looks at getting the info, the context and the depth of the story, as well as the background information. Okay? And this person will check on all the details that is needed. So when you look at COVID-19, it's hard to run fact checking because it's very fresh, very on the go, and very fluid. So a good example, or rather a better example, would be 1MDB. If the story breaks for 1MDB, a fact checker would need to look at the background. Who are the key players in 1MDB? What is the timeline like? Okay, and who is the story coming up from, who has reported about it in the past, what were the angles that was used, and all this information would help to ensure that the story is not only accurate but objective and that the angle is fresh. You don't want to be seen as copying news. Okay? And then finally, you've got the backpacker journalists, the people who go out and actually conduct the news with their phone, sometimes with a laptop, and then they write the story on the go, they send it to the editor, and they come back with more information.